Now, bearing in mind, after she left Singapore, she's no longer a Singapore PR, so she has to start afresh by getting her own employment pass with her new job. So with this employment pass, she tried to apply for PR again, but unfortunately, she got rejected. You love stories, and I love stories. And in this brand new series, we are going to regale you with the full behind the scenes of some of the most unique, interesting, and heartwarming stories of those who were successful in their Singapore immigration applications, so that you can take inspiration and take heart from the journeys of kindred spirits who came before you. And this is the Immigration People's Singapore Expat Stories. Now, the very first story of this series is about how a French ex-Singapore PR who managed to get back her Singapore PR status after a series of twists and turns spanning over 13 years. So the backstory of this client is as follows. She came to Singapore from France in the early 2000s with her entire family, and they got their Singapore PRs early in the days. So she stayed in Singapore for 10 years before moving back to France because of her father's job. And because of moving back to France, she lost her Singapore PR status. Having spent 10 years of her childhood in Singapore, she always knew that she wanted to come back someday. So when the opportunity came for an internship placement in Singapore, she quickly grabbed hold of that chance, and she managed to come back to complete her internship for her university. After completion of her university, she continued to stay in Singapore and landed herself a full-time job. Now, bearing in mind, after she left Singapore, she's no longer a Singapore PR, so she has to start afresh by getting her own employment pass with her new job. So with this employment pass, she tried to apply for PR again, but unfortunately, she got rejected. However, this outcome did not come as a surprise to her because she always knew that it's more challenging for ex-PRs to regain back their PR status. So she continued working in Singapore, and subsequently she married her long-term Singaporean boyfriend. Now, as a viewer, you might think that if you marry a Singaporean, your application for PR would definitely be approved. But that's not always the case. Look around and you will see a lot more rejections than approvals actually. And back to this French client, in fact, she took another year to prepare for her profile before submitting her PR application again, and this time around with the help of the Immigration People's team. So after waiting for 1 year and 1 month, she finally got her Singapore PR approved in December 2023. First of all, the most obvious challenge for this case is the fact that the client used to be a Singapore PR. So it is always more challenging to convince an ICA officer why you deserve a second chance with the Singapore PR. Next, because the client has been away from Singapore for quite a number of years, she sort of have to start afresh, in terms of her profile in Singapore again by securing herself a job, working for a few years before applying for Singapore PR. Then of course, when you apply on your own, you're subjected to more common pitfalls, such as no proper professional advice on telling you what to do exactly to present your profile in the best foot forward. You're unsure of how to put up, your case, your merits, your strengths for the ICA to consider you against the thousands of other candidates out there. As is customary for all TIP clients, they will always receive a complimentary first consultation with our immigration consultant. So during this first consultation, this is where we understood her end-to-end profile, what happened back in the days, and what she even submitted, in her own PR application after she became an adult. So while analyzing her past PR application, we also identified, what were the weaknesses, the gaps, and most importantly, what has improved since her last application to ICA. Because we want to showcase and emphasize on the fact that her career has improved, her personal profile, her family nucleus has all been better than the previous application. So what changed for this client since her last PR application on her own is that she has received a pay raise because of her contributions to the company. We emphasize on her pay raise, her promotion. Next, because she married her Singaporean boyfriend, we also emphasized on the fact that her family nucleus has now improved and submitted documents relating to her Singaporean husband. Next, which is also very important, this time round we explained the fact why she gave up her PR status back then, which is something that she failed to do in the application she applied on her own. It is always very important to explain to ICA so they know that sometimes it is not your choice to give up the PR status, which was what happened with this client because she was forced to give up her Singapore PR because of her dad's employment and her whole family had to move back to France. She didn't have a choice and she was a minor. And with all clients, we always emphasize on the fact and the importance of social integration, which she really heeded our advice and actively took part in a lot of social work and community service. She even gave free taekwondo coaching classes to Singaporeans every weekend, clocking in hours of volunteer work with non-profit organizations, and most importantly, she also took up a very comprehensive insurance coverage for herself to secure for herself and her family here, and also planned long-term for her financial well-being. So with this, we managed to put up a very comprehensive and wholesome documents package for her PR application and for her to stand out against the thousands of other PR competitors. So the end result of all this hard work is after we put up the application to ICA, ICA does not have to come back to us requesting for more information or missing documents. The entire wait was almost 14 months, and at the end of it, she became a Singapore PR again. So I remember meeting the client after the 14 months wait, for the completion of her PR formalities before her appointment with ICA. So I remember she was very happy, all smiles and really grateful. And in fact, she's also expecting their firstborn in a few months' time. So the client was really looking forward to the future and the life that she will be having here in Singapore with her young family. So if you're right now an ex-Singapore PR who wish to get back your Singapore PR status, my advice to you is really don't do it yourself. You have to speak to a professional who have handled similar cases before because your case is already more complex and disadvantageous to begin with. Here at the Immigration People, we have combined experience of more than 45 years in Singapore immigration, and over the years we have helped numerous ex-PRs getting back their Singapore PR status. That said, it's always a case-by-case basis. We cannot guarantee the same result for everyone, so it is very important that you speak to our immigration consultant to see what we can advise you and if your case is even feasible for us to take on. Now, story time's over. But do stay tuned because we have a lot more unique and interesting stories to share in our upcoming episodes. And to make sure that you don't miss out on any of these amazing stories, do remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. And I'll see you in the next episode of Singapore Expat Stories. Au revoir!